Hello, first of all, Ryan, welcome back.
Thank you.
Today, Ryan, who is our school counselor, is going to be discussing healthy relationships. An American author, Wayne Dyer, said problems in relationships occur because each person is concentrating on what is missing in the other person. So, what's your take on this?
Well, it's kind of correct, I would say, because normally our relational difficulties start when we start looking at deficiencies rather than at what people are giving in this relationship, and we try to balance out, okay, the deficiencies are present, but what are we getting out of the relationship as well? And that is the base of healthy relationship, when you have two people that are giving and taking out of it. So they're doing both of the
Give and
dynamic.
take.
Yes. Even though at times it might look like you're giving a bit more, but at times you're giving a bit less. That's also part of the dynamic. What becomes worrying is then when you start focusing only, or actually living only, the giving without getting anything back. That's something that's not working.
As I was researching for this program, I found some statistics which I found a bit shocking and worrying. Because I read that 1 in 3 adolescents in the US is a victim of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse from a dating partner. And only 33% of these young people who are victims actually ever speak about this abuse. Is this something, is this true also in Malta? From your experience?
I wouldn't be able to give you the statistics.
No, from your experience.
I'm not good with numbers at all, so and I don't have the data to actually speak about statistics.
No.
But I think everything lies here on the definition of what is abuse. We have a definition by which certain things would be called as abuse or neglect or whatever. On the other hand, we have what people understand of what is abuse, neglect, and what people are aware of.
Okay.
And that accounts for the 33%. That most of the times it tends to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized. I always like to repeat the sentence that what is common is not normal. It doesn't mean that if it happens a lot of times, it means that it's normal. It's not the same thing. So between being common and being normal, now normal is another word that we need to define, but
yes, okay.
between being common and being something acceptable is totally different. So that would account for the discrepancy in the statistics. So we're saying 1/3 only report or speak about this unhealthy or abusive relationship. And that could lie within this spectrum, that some people tend to normalize what is common, which is not the case in this scenario. Now, is it so common locally or not? What we can say is that we have a lot of unreported cases when it comes to unhealthy relationships. And the number goes even lower when the victim is the male part or same-sex relationships. Okay, we see a lower reporting in those scenarios, whereas it's not that it's a super high ratio, but when we have the female part that is reporting, it's a bit higher.
Okay.
Because it's more what we see as socially accepted somehow. Well, none of it should be socially accepted as in the abuse itself, but reporting seems to be more accepted if it's done from the female side of the relationship.
In fact, one of the things I think is worrying is that sometimes what you were saying, that we accept things as normal because they are done on a regular basis. So I might also tend to play down on a relationship which isn't as healthy as it should be. For example, okay, I don't mind, he or she checks my mobile, so what? And in reality, there should be these kind of do's and don'ts in a relationship. So a relationship can be healthy, can move into being unhealthy, and then the worst case scenario would be abusive. So what is a healthy relationship?
That was where I was going, since I think we need to define what is a relationship first. Because you get people asking, but what if, he checks my mobile or she checks my mobile or something that happens? we decided, and though we wouldn't be a we, but a person would have decided that we'll have one shared social media account. Is that good? Is that wrong? Let's start from defining the relationship. So a relationship, as I said in the beginning, if it's a healthy relationship, it's where both parties are equally treated.
Okay.
So part A and part B, irrelevant of the gender, are equal in that relationship. Now, at some points, one person might be carrying a bit more than the other, and then the other would be carrying a bit more than, it's this dynamic, it's a bit fluid. But the feeling inside it is that both parties in the relationship feel that they have equal rights in that relationship. They have an equal voice, they can decide equally on things, so they don't feel overpowered one by the other. Okay? So I think that's the main core that we need to understand. Now, within that context of having this value of having a relationship where both feel equally valued, then we can see all the other behaviors. Now, if I'm equally valued and my partner checks my mobile, but I know it's not checking, it's more because we interchange our mobiles, kind of, call from mine, here, it's there, he knows my password, I know my password, there's this dynamic. But within this healthy background of a relationship, that could be nothing. At the same time, if I'm in a relationship and my partner is very controlling over me, very possessive, my partner might be checking on my mobile without me knowing. Or checking on my mobile, not because he's asking us, let me check something, like let me use your phone or something. No, I need to check who you sent messages to. I need to check your Facebook profile. I need to check your Instagram profile. Well, there's something a bit different. There's the issue of control and possession, which makes it different from the first example I gave, where there's more this respectful relationship and both parties are valued. On the other case, in the second case I mentioned, there's this idea of I want to control what you're doing. I need to know every second of what you're doing. And then it verges on the unhealthy. So as you see, the same action of checking mobile, of using each other's mobile, can be different within two contexts of relationship. So we need to always contextualize the relationship where it is.
Okay. So as an educator, can I detect that there is are there any warning signs if are there something that I need to pick up to realize that one of the students, for example, is in an unhealthy, so the healthy relationship is moving into an unhealthy relationship?
No, it's a very tricky situation, because in most cases, from a healthy to an unhealthy relationship, what it entails on a behavior level is very little from the person going to the unhealthy side. Why? Because that person would most probably be normalizing it throughout. So it's very hard from a person from the exterior to actually notice. Having said that, when it gets to a certain level, you may start noticing, for example, people cutting themselves out, as in isolating themselves a lot, just not to make the other person angry or doubting about something. So you start seeing a person, once someone explained it as, you start seeing the person dying out, as in, it's like the personality of the person starts
cutting off from all social interaction.
So that could be one of, obviously it always could be, because it always depends on many things.
Yes.
But could be one of the markers. Another marker could be that you start seeing people, for example, if it goes to a certain extent, even losing a lot of weight. Now, losing weight is normally symptomatic either of because you're doing a good diet, but if it's not a good diet, it's always problematic of some sort. So losing weight normally associated with high anxiety, depressive moods. So, it's always related to some kind of something not working well. So that could be also something else we need to look at. Could be also health issues, obviously, but it's always related to something that's happening. So there are markers. Normally it's the change in behavior. One needs to look at the change in behavior, and it's not happening like today I had a bad day and I'm really grumpy in class. That's not a change in behavior. We all have bad days and we all get grumpy.
Mhm.
But it's when you see it going on a longer span of time. So getting grumpy rather than grumpy, maybe socially withdrawn, negative, pessimistic,
Mhm.
over a period of time, even dependency. For example, people that whenever you ask them something to commit themselves to something, well, I have to check. Okay, that's okay. But if it's always, and with whom are you checking? Are you checking with your partner because you might have something else? That's fine. But are you checking with your partner if he allows you or not?
Mhm.
Would that fall under a healthy relationship for a 16, 17-year-old?
Mhm.
That your partner would decide whether to allow you or not
To do
to
that
go on a school
activity.
outing, to go with your friends to have lunch somewhere,
Mhm.
And you need to always weigh these situations.
Okay. And I think in this case, maybe parents will be in a better position to sort of detect these.
If there's this open relationship at home, maybe yes, and they can communicate at home, it would be easier to do it at home rather than in class, obviously, because in
Yes.
class you see the person for an hour, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
So, what kind of support do we offer at school um, when a student comes because they are kind of feeling oppressed because their relationship is no longer a healthy
I
relationship?
think we need to start from the point where if someone is feeling that the relationship might be going somewhere that they're not liking, even if it looks still very far away from going there, speak up immediately. It can't be nothing. We can sit down around the table, discuss a bit, see what's happening, and say, listen, okay, nothing that bad is happening. It's within, let's call it the norm. Okay? So that would be the first part. If we get it at a later stage, it might be a bit more difficult to work around it. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's still very possible to do something about it, but it gets difficult. Okay? We need to work more. So yes, when it comes to support as counseling, we're here for that. But let's start from the beginning. We sometimes do some work on building healthy relationships. So this December, some a group in the school actually organized something on healthy relationships, what was related to domestic violence.
Okay.
But the session they had, the group that attended, I went for part of it, was about maintaining healthy relationships. So be on the lookout on what is a healthy relationship. Because if you start with that, you might not end up having an unhealthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So start with having an idea of what you expect out of a relationship. And yes, it's okay to expect something out of a relationship. A relationship is not there only for you to serve in it, it's for you to give something, but you expect something out of it. If this relationship is not making you feel happy, it's not making you better as a person, where something might be not
Something's wrong.
okay. Okay?
Mhm.
So do work on it.
Okay. Now I think one of the most frustrating things that can happen is if I'm a student and my best friend is in a relationship and I'm seeing these signs, and being a best friend, you have more the confidence of the person, so she will be or he will be telling you more about I need to check, blah blah blah. So I am aware as an outsider that my friend is not in a healthy relationship, but when I talk to her or him, it may cost our friendship because the person who is involved in the unhealthy relationship is not seeing it. They're kind of too subjective. They're not looking at it from an objective point of view. And this can be the friend, it can be a parent we know that students, they get talked to by parents, but sort of, I have my own life now. How do you help the parent or the friend, because they'll also be going through some bad moments with
Yes.
this?
I would always say, if you have a good relationship with someone, never lose it because you're disagreeing on something. So what I'm saying is, it's important for the person, even though it becomes difficult seeing your friend not behaving in the best way possible according to you, But if you are in this good friendship, good relationship with this person, keep it. Why? Because that person needs someone that is available, even emotionally, in a healthier way. So keep that contact. Then obviously, the idea would be to refer. So if you're seeing things that are beyond your control as a friend or as a parent, sometimes you need to refer to other people, so professionals at school, but even other institutions outside school, that might help you in that situation. Okay, sometimes the reality check is very hard. Why? Because we'll go through a process of normalization, as I mentioned in the beginning. So, you know, these things are normal, it's part of a relationship. And we start accepting many things that shouldn't be accepted. When we reach that point, it's very hard to look back and say, oh, look, we've accepted so many things that we shouldn't have accepted. It doesn't come natural. Okay? Because they're accepted, they're part of who we are now. Therefore, it might need some kind of other intervention through professional work as well with the person. We evaluate what's happening. It could be that this imbalance in the relationship is there, but both partners have a goodwill about it, as in they would really want to work on that, and we can work on that. Because it could be that one character is very overpowering and the other character is very passive. So this kind of imbalance was created kind of naturally, but would help the two partners in the relationship to actually create some kind of balance. So there are different dynamics that we can look at. If it's upright abusive, obviously we need them to work on a safety plan. The person needs to be safe before any other thing. So safety is our priority in every situation.
But still, there's hope. I mean, not every unhealthy relationship is irredeemable. So if there's willingness to...
That's why we kind of divided them. There's the abusive part where we still have hope and work around it, but it might be a bit more drastic. If it's an unhealthy relationship, we can work through the relationship, not away from it, but through it, and actually create this balance, create these new behavioral patterns that might help both person. Maybe the submissive part would get a bit more assertive and train in assertivity and even assertivity within the relationship, which is very important. The dominant part might start to calm down a bit and work around sometimes impulses that people have. So we can have different options on that level as well.
Okay. Actually, when I was looking into this topic of relationships, I came across a relationship bill of rights. I wasn't aware that there is a relationship bill of rights. So I would suggest to students to actually look them up and read them, because they are eye-openers. Like, you have the right to privacy, both online and off, for example. You have the right to feel safe and respected. And these are things which, like you said, we take for granted, and maybe we normalize things which aren't so...
Which shouldn't be normalized.
Which shouldn't be normalized. Thank you very much. I'll end up with a quote I found by Henry Winkler, who is an American actor, who said, "Assumptions are the termites of relationships." Thank you.